Hi everyone. This is our next beeswax lesson, and I've taken you to a new area of my home. I know that I've been taking you different places, but the last 2 weeks I took you to the same place, and I thought I'd better go somewhere new today. So here we are. We're outside. It's actually out the front of my home, and there might be some background noise because there's neighbours around and lots of children. Today we are going to be using our deep purple, it's like the red violet colour beeswax that you have. It should be the only piece left that you have. Unfortunately, I only have one, which means I wasn't able to make a model to show you at the end before we start. So we'll be working together from the beginning today with my one piece. And you have scraps of orange, and you also have scraps of yellow. Now if you have enough of the orange, I recommend using that, but yellow is fine as well. So I'll be using actually a little bit of both. I have a little bit of orange, but I'm not sure it'll be enough, so I'm going to add some yellow to that and warm them together. So while you're getting your two pieces that you need, I will play the song. Okay, you've got your pieces, warming your hands, making your fingers nimble. Thumb, pointer, tall man, ring man, pinky, pinky, ring man, tall man, pointer, thumb. Finger. And then you're going to place your beeswax in the palm of your hand. I'm going to put my little bit just where my arm is warm, under my arm there, and I'm going to put my big bit in the palm of my hand, and we are going to say our verse. From the bees this gift of gold is here for us to warm and hold. Fragrant beeswax in our hand is full of goodness from the land. Okay. Hold your beeswax nice and held by those warm hands of yours throughout the story. This is the last of our serendipity books for now. Next week for beeswax I'm going to be doing a different kind of story, and one that comes from places maybe far away, maybe seasonal. So this is the one we are doing today, our last serendipity one for the term, and this one is called Creole. And it is written by Stephen Cosgrove. On a foggy, foggy morning in the land of the swamp, from a battered speckled egg, Creole was born. She was big and very, very ugly. She had warts on her fingers, warts on her toes, bony pointed knees, and a big flat nose. Beneath all of that which made her so ugly was the most beautiful heart that had ever beat anywhere in the world. Because of her beautiful heart, Creole thought the most beautiful thoughts that could ever be. She thought of love, for her heart was full of love. She thought of happiness, for her heart was full of happiness. And she thought of tenderness, for she was the gentlest of all the creatures. Day in and day out she would sit alone, sniffing the flowers and talking to the trees that grew in the great swamp. One day she was sitting near a large magnolia tree when she thought, maybe I should share my love and happiness with the other creatures of the swamp. So with that in mind, she set off to find some animals that could become her friends. As noisy as that swamp could be, with all the animals living there, it would fall into a silent hush when Creole walked by. The birds became quiet, the possums sat still, and the alligators all slipped away. They all thought that because she was so ugly, she had to be mean too. Creole looked and looked, but she could not find a friend at all. Finally, with watermelon-sized tears falling at her feet, she sat with a heavy thump on a big old broken stump and cried and cried. Why won't anyone listen to me? She sobbed. The only thing I want in the whole world is to just have someone to tell my happy thoughts to. The tears rolled over her cheeks, bounced off her belly, and slipped and slid down the log, and finally landed with a large kerplunk on the head of a baby alligator sitting just below. The little alligator looked around to see who had been throwing water on him, when suddenly from above came another large tear. Kerplunk! He looked up, way up, and saw Creole. Why are you crying on me? Stuttered the alligator. Creole looked down and spied the smallest, littlest alligator she had ever seen. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I didn't know you were down there. The last thing I wanted to do in the whole world was to hurt someone. Wiping a tear from her eye, Creole suddenly realized that the little alligator had not run away and was actually talking to her. Why didn't you run away like everyone else? Asked Creole. Because I hope you will be my friend, stuttered the alligator. The other alligators all laugh at me because I stutter and can't talk straight. They looked into each other's eyes and realized that they were what each of them was looking for. A friend. For the longest time, Creole and her newfound friend sat and shared their friendship. After a while, Creole said, "It's too bad you and I don't have more friends. I wonder what we could do to convince the other creatures not to laugh at you and not to be afraid of me." The little alligator nodded his head in agreement, and the two of them tried to figure out a way to talk with the other animals of the swamp. "I know what we shall do," Creole said. "I can hide behind a big bush and you can stand in front. When all the animals have gathered around, I'll tell you what to say. Then you can talk about love and happiness." Well, the little alligator reluctantly agreed, and with Creole hidden behind a lilac bush, he nervously called to the other animals. A couple of times he got so scared he tried to hide, but each time she would gently shove him back out and tell him not to be afraid. Now the other animals of the swamp, not seeing Creole around, knew that it was safe to come out and listen to all that little alligator had to say. One by one they all crept from the bushes, the berries, and the washes of the swamp. There were 4 or 5 big old alligators and a couple of small ones, 2 yellow snakes and a blue one, 23 birds of a feather, a possum and his wife, and a great white heron. With all the creatures gathered around, the little alligator began repeating what Creole was whispering to him. He told them about the beauty of the early morning dawn and about the sunset over the swamp. He talked of love, beauty, and most of all, friendship. The animals were amazed at what the alligator was saying and how cleverly he was saying it. For you see, when the alligator didn't have to make up what he said, he didn't stutter at all. Everything would have been all right if it had not been for a nosy squirrel who happened to peek behind the bush that Creole was whispering from. The squirrel let out a yelp and shouted, "Run as fast as you can! The big, ugly creature is back!" Creole was so shocked at being discovered that she tripped on the bush, scaring the creatures even more. "Wait, wait," she cried. "I'm not going to hurt you. We just wanted to be your friends." But the creatures wouldn't listen, and scrambling over one another, they ran away. The little alligator chased after them, shouting in a very clear voice, "Stop! Creole is my friend, and she would never hurt anyone." The other creatures, who by this time were hidden in the bushes, listened to the little alligator, and suddenly a wise old owl spoke from the branches over a pine tree. "Perhaps we should listen. Perhaps we should believe him," he said, "for his ugly friend Creole has stopped him from stuttering." Sure enough, during all the excitement of chasing the creatures, the little alligator hadn't stuttered a single word. Sheepishly, all the creatures went back to where Creole was sadly waiting, with the little alligator leading the way. "Creole," said the alligator, "all my fellow creatures of the swamp are sorry that they judged you by how you look. But if you will forgive them, they would love to hear you talk of all the happiness in your heart." With a radiant smile overcoming her tears, Creole hugged each and every one of the creatures and made them all her friends. Never judge someone by the way they look, or a book by the way it's covered. For inside those tattered pages, there is a lot to be discovered. And that's our beautiful story about Creole. Do you know what we're going to make today? We are going to try our hardest to make a Creole. Now, she has a big belly, see there? And then legs, but we don't need to do them so defined, just the hint of the legs. We have little arms that wrap around her belly, and then this long neck with quite a small head and a big beak. That's what we're going to use the orange and yellow for. Orange or yellow or both. So we will start with our red violet and wrap it into a ball, or mould it into a ball. Just got a little bit of plastic on mine, make sure that comes off. Oopsie. There we go. So in the ball it goes. on that ball, which is at her big belly, all we're really going to be doing is bringing out a little neck and head. Like this. And then we're going to make these, the hint of these arms that wrap around her belly. It's very hard to see mine in this light, actually. Sorry about that. So I've got those two arms forming, coming around her belly, and the hint of these legs my beeswax is quite soft today, which is great. I've got this little sitting, mine looks like sitting with those arms wrapped around her belly. Smooth the belly, and then with your lovely bit of orange or yellow, you're going to form a beak, and quite a big beak that sits upon her little face. But you want to wrap it around the face. So like we did last time with the beak, have it come, you have two bits that come out that you can wrap around her face. But you don't want it too big. I'm just going to make mine a little bit smaller. That doesn't take up too much of her little face there. She has this big beak that comes off her face. I'll show you a picture in a second. I'm having some trouble with mine today. Here's a picture. I think my my red violet was quite small, so I can't have that big belly that I want. Let me try get that beak up a bit separate from the belly. There we go. Now I've made more of a neckline on my big belly to come out. My little, take a little bit off my beak. It's a bit too big, I think. Hope you're working well with me. It's got a little point at the end that bends over. A little, she's got this pointy bit at the end that bends. Take some off the top so she's got more face coming out. And do you know, if you had a tiny bit of blue lying around your house, you could potentially put a little bit of blue just above your beak for the her eyes. Just make sure you've got that nice big belly and the hint of those little hands. Going around her belly, holding her belly nice and comfortably. Where are we here? definitely having trouble with mine today. I have to be working on it a fair bit, I think. Anyway, she's starting to come around. She's starting to show her form. And I'm going to keep working on her and take a photo of her and give it to you to have a little view of when I'm finished. I won't do the video any longer. Oh, I have a little visitor.
What's that?
Okay, everyone. Good luck with Creole. I can't wait to see the photos. Make sure you send them through and I can see the beautiful qualities that you have coming out of her. Her big, gorgeous heart. All right. See you next time. Bye, lovelies.